Hello, everybody. Happy Easter. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. My name's Kevin. I'm a geek. You're watching Kevin the Geek. I know it's not actually Easter. Of course, it is November. Of course, it is my Doctor Who month where I'm celebrating the 60th anniversary of Doctor Who. So I'm continuing on with my series of Doctor Who reviews. This month, of course, I'm completing up to the end of the 2009 specials featuring David Tennant's initial run as the Doctor and, of course, Russel T Davies' initial run as showrunner for Doctor Who. I'm also doing rankings this month. I'm doing reactions to classic Doctor Who, which of course I have already done the first serial of An Unearthly Child back from 1963. I'm doing reactions of the Sarah Jane Adventures, of Class. I'm also finishing my reviews of Torchwood by doing my reviews of Children of Earth and of Miracle Day. So there's loads of Doctor Who related content this month, along with all of my other regular stuff. So if you are new to the channel, if you've not done so already, please subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, smash that like button, and of course, make sure you drop your comments down below. But today, I am reviewing Planet of the Dead. This is, of course, the first of the specials from 2009 featuring David Tennant, which was followed by The Waters of Mars, and of course, End of Time Parts 1 and 2, which was David Tennant's final episode as the Doctor, at least what we knew of at the time. Now, if you missed it, I did a ranking towards the start of this month where I ranked all of the episodes that were written by Russel T Davies in the original run by him. And if you didn't see that, basically this episode featured quite low on that list. Now, I don't necessarily think overall that it is a bad episode. It's just, it's okay. It's fine. It's meh. It probably, it's probably a similar kind of vein and level to some of the early Doctor Who episodes, from the first series of Doctor Who. There was just a lot that, for me personally, didn't really land necessarily that well. I know that it was intended to be a fun and light-hearted episode, which, for the most part, I will say, tonally, it did kind of achieve that. But as an overall package, it was just that. It was, Now, if you haven't seen any of my Doctor Who reviews before, then what I will be doing later on in this video is I will be giving this episode a score and a grading. And I do that by giving it a score out of 100 based off 10 different categories. So make sure you stick to the end of the episode where you can find out that score and that grading. And later on this month, on the 23rd of November, I am indeed going to be doing a ranking video where you will see me rank every single episode from Rose through until the end of time, which was Russel T Davies' initial run as showrunner, and I will rank them in order based on the scores and grades that I have given every single episode to this point. So make sure you stick around for that. But going back to this episode, we need to try and break it down to see why I kind of think it is just a bit meh. Now let's get the lowest ranking category out of the way straight away. Let's go with the villains, because this one had villains and it didn't have villains. This was one where you basically had two enemies or antagonists, which were basically the Tritovals, which were those fly-based humanoid-ish creatures. And then you had the stingrays, which I don't remember if they actually gave them an actual name, but yeah, they were obviously the biggest problem to this episode, and neither of them were out and out villains in the way that the Daleks maybe, or the Sontarans, or the Cybermen, or anything like that. They are following their basic principles, really, these stingrays, because all they're trying to do is essentially to survive, and the way that they survive is they eat everything and anything. They create a wormhole and they move on to the next planet. That's all that they are. You can't really say much more to them than that. The design of them was interesting because they were stingray-like in appearance, so it was something that you could just kind of easily look at and go, yeah, okay, that's what it is. When you try and break it down, obviously they were covered in that sort of metal endoskeleton, and then the inside part, it wasn't quite clear because they were such fast-moving creatures. You couldn't quite tell. At some points it looked kind of a rocky sort of thing. Sometimes it looked bony. You could never quite make it out overall. But yeah, they were just there. They were just there to cause a problem at the end of the day. And the Tritonals, they were there to make it seem like they were an initial enemy. And then they just turned out, yeah, they were just crash survivors. And it was basically revealed after this episode that the reason that they got killed off and they got eaten by the stingrays is ultimately because they were like, well, I don't know how we're going to explain these two fly-like creatures if they manage to get back to Earth if the Doctor saves them. So let's just make them two more characters that the Doctor couldn't save. Yeah, great. We've had that before. You know, we had the whole thing with in Journey's End where Davros, you know, revealed the soul of the Doctor. Yeah, great. Okay, this was just another one, but it didn't feel earned. There was nothing special about it. It was just like, oh, they're there. Oh no, they've gone. They've been eaten. You know. So yeah, they weren't great in this episode. Now the Doctor himself, he was fine. You know, similar to last time out with the next Doctor, he didn't have anything really special about him. He was just there as the Doctor. Of course, you have the final moments of that, which I'll come to in a little bit. But yeah, he was just there. He was just average, really. You can't really give him much more than an average score for this episode. He was just doing the stuff that he does. And then Lady Christina, oh my God, she... Oh, I don't know what to really say with her. I've read some stuff that some people like her. I've read some stuff that they absolutely hate her. I wouldn't go so far as to say I absolutely hate her and she is the worst thing ever, but she was a pretty bad character. To me, they were going to try and go down this sort of action hero kind of route, you know, a little bit maybe like a bit like a Lara Croft or something of that kind of nature. But in reality, she felt very bland as a character, personally speaking. I didn't think that she had much about her, you know, other than being vaguely attractive looking and a bit adventurous. That was it. You know, there wasn't anything special about her, in my personal opinion. But I will say the rest of the supporting cast, they, despite having a lot less time in most cases, they had substantially more character. Like Carmen and Lou, you know, the couple who are going and having chops and gravy for dinner. They were just so much sweeter. And of course, Carmen had this whole psychic ability thing. And I liked, you know, when they were like about the lottery and that they win £10 every week. I liked that because that showed the human side to these two lovely characters. You know, they're not greedy. They're not out to exploit the system and get everything. You know, they're there to just get £10 a week. They can use it to get in some food shops, or if they want a little takeaway, they can do so. And that is wonderful to see. You have the two boys, something and Barclay. I can't remember the full names. But obviously, you had one of them, Daniel Kaluuya, who at the time was, to me, most famous for having portrayed Posh Kenny in the TV show Skins. And of course, in much later years, he's got a lot more international recognition. You know, he was in a sort of horror movie which I haven't seen. I can't remember what that was. It called, like Get Out or something like that. And of course, he was in the first Black Panther movie. So you know, he's really developed as a star. And Doctor Who seems to be, you know, a wonderful platform for promoting people into stardom. Obviously, you had Daniel Kaluuya, you know, kind of before he became really big. He was in this. Noel Clarke, in a way, he became bigger after Doctor Who. Then you had the likes of Carey Mulligan, who was in, of course, the episode Blink. And then of course, you had Andrew Garfield from the Daleks in Manhattan kind of two-parter. That was before he became really famous and, of course, became Spider-Man in later years. So it's wonderful to see these characters, or sorry, rather these actors who start off small and, they portray a role in something like Doctor Who, and, it gives them that, way of being able to build themselves and really become more of themselves. But yeah, the all the supporting characters were great, but I have to say there is none much better in this episode than Dr. Malcolm Taylor, played by Lee Evans, who is a comedian who, of the small amount of stuff that I have actually watched of him, I'm personally not a huge fan of his stand-up. And admittedly, this is stuff that I watched when I was much, much younger. Probably around about this sort of time, actually, or a little bit beforehand. And like I've done with other reactions and things I've done on this channel, I do feel that my tastes of media in general, of comedy, of drama, various different things, they have changed over the years. So maybe I should go back and check out a little bit of the Lee Evans stand-up and see if maybe I do find him funny now. Because in Doctor Who, he was fantastic. He was absolutely hilarious. And I have to say, for a guy who is, a Lunder, he does a very good Welsh accent. The character just as a whole was just fantastic, and I feel that the Welsh accent for him really just heightened my love of him, because I absolutely love the Welsh accent. There's just something magical and sing-song about the Welsh accent, and I love the fact that he changed the unit of measurements and named it after himself, and 100 Malcolms equals a Bernard. There's just something wonderful about the Welsh accent. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's from my time watching Torchwood so much. Apologies to any Welsh people who may just have been offended by my attempt at a Welsh accent there. It's one that I can do better than probably most accents, but yeah, it's still I wouldn't say I'm absolutely perfect when it comes to it, but it's just the rhythm of the Welsh accent. It's just very, very sing-song. It goes high and it goes low. So yeah, it was absolutely wonderful, to see that. And in a way, I think the character he now sort of represents, the passionate fans of Doctor Who, of which I am happy to say I am definitely a very passionate fan of Doctor Who, and I'm so excited to be on this journey where I'm sharing all these kind of reviews and reactions and rankings and all this stuff. So thank you to each and every one of you who has been any part of this journey from when I started it nearly a year ago to now. But going back to the story, sorry, I went a little bit off tangent there. I do feel that just in general, the rest of the episode, the various things I'm going to be scoring it on, the music, the set, the costumes, the dialogue, it's all very there. Overall, the whole episode, there's just not really anything special about it. Apart from that prophecy that they do right at the end, to tie into the end of time and the end of the Doctors, and at the very least, the wording of it. I like that they managed to tie it back to, the Planet of the Ood episode from series 4, because they did that in that where they were saying, your song will be ending soon. So it's a nice little callback to that. But as a general rule, for prophecies in general in media, whether it's a movie, TV show, video game even, I would personally say I'm not a huge fan, because I feel that prophecies at times, it can be lazy to, if that's maybe the right word. I feel that it's something that you could just tack on and just go, why is such and such happen? Oh, it's because it was predicted, it was prophesized. Obviously I'll talk about the outcome of that prophecy when I do my reviews of The End of Time later on this month. But overall, yeah, it was just not something I personally like. At the time, I found it shocking. I was like, "Oh my god! Oh, what's this? What does this mean?" And I was coming up with all these different theories. Now, in retrospect, I'm like, why did you need to do it? Yeah, there was no need for it, realistically. But that's going to round up the review here of the Planet of the Dead. Now, like I said, I am going to score and grade this episode. So, what I do is I take 10 different categories and I score each of them out of 10 to give me that overall score out of 100. And that score then determines what grade I give this episode. So, let's check out my scores for Planet of the Dead. And there you have it. Planet of the Dead has scored 53 marks out of 100, which means it is a C- rated episode. Like I said, it wasn't bad. You know, it was fun. It was kind of still enjoyable to watch now. But is it something I go back to and watch? No, not really. It's not one of those I think, oh, what episode do I want to watch today? Oh, what's a really great episode? I never think of this one. And to be fair, probably the last time I watched it was definitely at least probably 5 to 10 years ago, at the bare minimum. It's definitely not one I watch very regularly at all. But what are your thoughts to Planet of the Dead? Whatever your thoughts are, please drop them in the comments down below. Remember to subscribe, turn on notifications, and like the video. But of course, don't forget to check out all of my other Doctor Who related content. I'm doing reactions, reviews, rankings, loads of different stuff this month. So if you are new, please subscribe and make sure you turn on those notifications so you don't miss any of my videos. But for today, my name's Kevin. I'm a geek, and you've been watching Kevin the Geek. Goodbye.